Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. The record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 23rd day of March 2018. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable, pleasant evening. I know that there were some areas of the island where we received a little rain last night, welcomed as well. I'm sure that the fruit trees are smiling through their leaves and their roots as well as a result of that little rain, and hopefully we'll get some more as well. Some people are saying that we're likely to have a small crop of fruit this year, in particular mangoes. I'm hoping otherwise, but there are wiser heads out there than mine, and people who know the seasons and people who know their fruit trees and everything else. But of course, we are in changing times, and the weather patterns are no longer what they used to be as well. So I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orit Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Of course, if you don't like to talk on the telephone, you can email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at candw.ky. We also have a WhatsApp number. That number is 925-3261. We encourage you to send us a text or leave a voice note. That voice note will be played during the course of the show as well, but do not expect anyone to answer that number. We won't answer it. We encourage you, send us a text message or leave us a voice note. Today is the day that is normally assigned to the official opposition, and we may or may not have someone in the studio later on this morning. The leader of the opposition, Mr. Ezra Miller, is busy in his district making preparations for the naming and dedication of a beach in honor of Mr. Bo Darrington Miller. And he's asked me to remind our listening and viewing audience as well that will take place tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock, and it will be near the Miller Cemetery on Old Robin Road. That is the road that connects North Side with Queens Highway. So if you're coming from Jack's gas station, when you get around the corner, you make a right. You will cross the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and there's a right bend on the road there. As soon as you make that turn, on the left-hand side of the road is where the cemetery is, and the beach is in that area. So that will be 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. So those of you who are wishing to attend, and it's an open invitation for all to attend as well. So until we have someone in the studio, we're going to have open mic, which will give you all an opportunity to call in, probably have a little longer time to talk than I would normally give you as well. And that will depend on how many people we have on hold when the phone lines are open. And of course, the phone lines are open from now as well. I want to talk briefly about publicity within the islands and how sometimes negative publicity can adversely affect our tourism product. And I would bring your attention to Bermuda. And there's a case of a young man who was on a spring break in Bermuda with friends, and he went missing for about a day and a half. His family put out appeals for assistance in locating him. They traveled to the island of Bermuda and, along with search teams, were able to locate his body. At the time, no one knew what the cause of death was. They have now received a pathologist report, and that report indicates that there was no foul play involved. There was speculation prior to that there was the possibility of foul play because the friends of the young man who were along with him that night indicated that he was not drunk, he was not inebriated. And CCTV cameras picked him up walking in certain areas, saw him talking on his telephone and everything. Now, the examination is not complete yet because they still have to do a toxology test, and they have indicated that may take some time, and we trust that they will eventually come up with the results. But if there was foul play associated with this young man's demise, you can bet your bottom dollar that with the individual being an American, and with the U.S. media taking a keen interest in this particular story, that there was that potential for Bermuda to get some negative press if that were the case. So we trust, nothing we can do now to bring the young man back, but we would hope and trust that there is no evidence of foul play involved. Which brings me to the situation at home as well, where the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service has put on an appeal in the recent case of an attempted child abduction. That is something that we have to take seriously because, again, it appears that we have a sick individual, we have a pervert in our midst. That individual must be identified and must be dealt with as swiftly as possible. I'm told that we have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Ori. How are you doing? I hope you're feeling better after your operation.
Good morning. Nice. I'm feeling every day it gets better and better, and the doctor is quite pleased with the results.
We're grateful to have you on the radio. I'm so grateful to hear your voice. I'm glad you're back. I just wanted to bring up something in mind that I don't know if you've heard of it or anything like that, but, I have only two sons. And they went fishing the other night with a cousin, 3 of them in a boat, and they got stranded outside the ocean on the reef in the South Sound area on the right, and we would they called 911. 911 going to tell them to call a friend if they don't have a friend that could help them. Then when I called 911, they asked me if do I have someone, and they're checking to see if any boats in the area. But I've already checked, there were no boats in the area. So my son, one of them got injured, and and they were drifting and getting closer and closer to the reef. So I ran to like 5 or 6 homes until I got someone to go out there and rescue them. They're all good and safe. Good, God is good. No one came up to now, 911 or no fire service. Nobody came out there. But I was watching the news last night, and I was seeing on the writing on the bottom of the television that the fire station was not notified. I know that's not true because they have the radios on and they were in the terminal. At that same point in time, one of my neighbors that was in charge heard the call and did not respond. Another thing, I'm asking, the police is saying that they are not equipped and not ready as yet. So if they're not ready, and they did training last week and they paid for overtime to do training with the police for a rescue at sea, why did they rescue at two different point in times, Wednesday and Thursday night, at the lobster port where they rescued 2 people, but they're not up and ready yet to go to someone else that called on Tuesday night. But the week before, they did rescue other people that was on that 7-mile stretch that had difficulties also in the water.
Caller, question. When you contacted 911, in addition to them asking you whether or not you could contact anyone, did they say what they would be doing at that point in time to assist?
They just said they would be calling to see if any boats in the area. And I did hear from a person in the port that they just called and asked if any boats in the area. No one didn't answer. I got an hour and a half later, I got an officer calling me, say that he's loading up the boat. Now, do you know if your boys get in yet? And I said, sir, really? An hour and a half after you're going to call me and ask this? So, I was taking my son to the hospital at the point in time because he had a big hook in his foot, trying to keep the boat from going on the reef, so that they got hooked with that. And, no one ever, they not even came, support. People from outside that I called there, the guy name is Richard Gonzalez and Peter Jervis, Fat Fish. He came to support me because he had a major operation. Stefan Baru lived right next down the road. He came and assisted me with talking to my sons, talking them through it. And then this guy came less than 10 minutes as I pounded on his door, and his wave runner was not hooked up to his truck. He hooked his wave runner up to his truck from in the midst of Prospect and came all the way down in South Town and went out there. He had his life vest, he had his rope, he had all of his little gears, and he did an awesome job. I want to thank him this morning because I could have 3 bodies floating. They would have been looking for an aftermath the other day. This happened last year at the same time. I know everything is done and gone and said and well, but this happened last year with 5 other persons that put a flare gun in the air. Time response. No one. It's Easter. Everyone is on the beach this Easter. Everyone is doing boating this Easter. God help us that nothing don't happen to none of our people or anyone on this island, because the response is so horrible. And now I'm hearing that 911 and fire station are hooked up together to respond with this. They did training. So if you did a first mass training, why aren't you out there assisting? It's not in place, but you heard the call for assistance. You sit down and you did not do anything about it.
Caller, we have to go to a commercial break, but it's going to be a short break. Can you hold on? Because there are a few questions that I want to ask you afterwards. If you can hold on for maybe maximum 2 minutes, maybe not. That's even
great.
That long.
Thank you. I'll wait.
Okay, thanks, caller. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller on hold who's relating to us an incident that took place a few nights ago at sea. Caller, are you there? Sorry about that.
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay. Have you requested any details of the conversation between you and 911 or the police, because in most jurisdictions, and I would imagine, certainly if not the police, then 911 would keep a record of whatever calls come in. They would record it. Have you requested that from them?
I have not requested it as yet, because during the all of this uproar and everything, my heart, when you're going to lose two sons and you only got two kids, you know what the feeling is like. So I just didn't even got down to the bottom of it yet. I have not did anything as yet. I have not written any letters as yet to request that, but I will be requesting it, and also I do have it saved on my recording. But I would like the original, and I will be requesting it.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not a situation where at the end of the day that we want to point fingers or to blame anyone. Every experience is a learning experience.
Exactly.
And
But
this experience can be a learning one in a similar incident that may occur later on again. So it is always good to know what is happening. We need to know whether or not, for instance, the Marine unit, whether or not it is operational 24 hours, whether or not if there's a particular incident, unless they have vessels at sea who may be involved in other operations that they can divert to a particular incident, or how long does it take for them to assemble a crew for a vessel to get out in a rescue situation. So what we would want to know is whether or not the suggestions that they handed out to you initially were stopgap measures until such time as they could get the wheels in motion to get someone out there.
Okay, well, I just want to say this, all right. The gentleman that was sitting by me that called the Marine unit directly because he owns Fat Fish, he said the Marine answered and told him that they didn't have anyone on duty tonight and they could not come out. They wouldn't expect them to pull people out of their beds that time of night at 9 o'clock, 9:15.
Uh-huh.
So also I did call a family member, and they called the fire department for their assistance, and the family member called them. The sub officer that was on charge that night refused and rejected that call. And this is a known fact. Mm-hmm. I am not lying. I am telling you the truth. And
do you know the reasons for the rejection of the call? Or were they saying that you hadn't gone through normal channels or what?
No, because they heard it on 911 also.
Okay.
And then when that person called in to the fire department, the sub officer said, no, we're going to pass up on this one. I don't know. I can't tell you why he rejected the call, but I do know that they're saying that they're not fully operational. But if you're not fully operational, you were rescuing people last week. You were rescuing people last week at Lobster Pot in the night. More than one person assisting in the waters that was having difficulties. I just wanted to get this across, and I need this to be across the island, that people are going out on boats. I know we're gonna fish and we are from an island and everything. It's just not helping us, because that's what we have 911 in place for, and someone should be on 24-hour call at all times, no matter what district they're in. Give them a radio, give them something to assist. Mm-hmm. They have laws. If these people are working for the Cayman Islands government and is with the government and has a contract, that is called a public service management law revision. And do you know that what happens and you don't respond? And they know that they don't discharge their people. That's an omission. It's bad. You know that there's a 2-year imprisonment for that, right? If I push this, I can really push this to the end.
Mm-hmm. What I would encourage you to do is to speak to the person who's in charge of 911. Speak to the person who is in charge of the Marine unit at the police, because I would imagine that with whatever publicity this garners, that they're going to want to respond to it. And it is best that they are proactive rather than reactive in responding to it. The other question that I had also was that we under normal circumstances, and I would say especially during the Easter season. I think it is the Port Authority that encourages everyone who's embarking on a boat to go fishing to at least report in to say that they're going out, that they're going fishing, where they're going, their expected time of return, and everything else, so that those details are there. Whether or not this happened in this particular instance, and I'm not sure whether or not that would have impacted on it, because based on what you're telling me, they had the ability to communicate. You were able to talk to them by telephone. So it wasn't a situation where you didn't know where they were. You knew where they were, but the situation was that they needed to be rescued.
Yes, they needed to be rescued. And at that time of night, I'm in Prospect. I'm going to find someone to rescue my children, because we have 911 in place. We have a fire department. I don't know who's in charge. I think the gentleman's name is David Hills, or whatever his name is. He has his people in charge, and I guess they are sub-officers. They should know what they got to do with their department once they get an emergency come in. I mean, this is happening over and over and over and over. You know it too, or behind your head. Search it. How many accidents have we had in this ocean? Even in the up by the beach where they are the docks, the boat docks when it's rough. You know, we have a lot of accidents over there due to the time that the people get there to rescue these people. They are not prepared. Their equipment should be ready at all times. The ocean, you don't play with the ocean. I can understand if there's an accident on land, but the water can swallow you up less than a minute. Mm-hmm. And I'm not pointing fingers. I am not pointing fingers. But these things need to be in place.
Yep.
And this can happen to you. It can happen to me. Anyone out there.
Yeah.
It happened to me, and I experienced it. And I am asking them, the fire department, the chief, and everyone to take a look at it. Someone is calling for their lives, and they're going to ignore it.
Yep. Let's treat this. This needs to be treated as a learning experience. Unfortunately, in this particular incident, no life was lost at all, and that was important as well. Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there. We have to go to our 8 o'clock news now, but I would encourage you to follow up on this, simply so to ensure that measures are put in place that similar incident does not repeat itself. Thank you very much, caller, folks. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm in the studio by myself, no guests, so we are going to continue to operate with an open mic. This morning, I want to remind you, you can call us courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037, 949-6990. WhatsApp number is 925-3261. Leave a text message or a voice message as well. I'm looking at one of our online news services. In this particular case, it's Cayman News Service. And there's an article that is dated on the 21st, 2 days ago. And it's entitled, Boat in Trouble Rescued by Private Vessel. And to ensure that we obtain as much clarity as possible on this situation, I'm going to read almost verbatim what the particular article says about this rescue. It says police are urging mariners to ensure that they have life jackets and other safety equipment before they go out on the water, after a member of the public rescued 3 men on board a small aluminum boat in trouble in South Sound last night. The men reported that the boat's engine had failed at around 8:45 p.m. Tuesday evening, but there were no marine officers on the water at the time. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service Joint Marine Unit and off-duty officers were called to work, and the port also issued a call over VHF radio to other mariners about the 10-foot vessel in need of help. Police said that Marine officers were en route to the Marine base to launch a vessel by 9:05 p.m., and officers called the men in the boat to let them know that efforts to get a Joint Marine Unit boat underwater were underway, and that civilian boats had also been called to assist. At that point, they learned that a man on the boat had stepped on a hook and injured his foot. The men also said they had lights on the vessel, but no life jackets, and that the waves were picking up. By 9:30 p.m., the Marine officers had taken the boat to South Sound to be launched, but when they spoke by mobile phone with the men who were in trouble, they learned that the small boat was being towed to shore and the men were no longer in need of police assistance. Once ashore, the police confirmed they were safe, and the man with an injury to his foot was taken to the hospital by private vehicle. And this is a quote now from Acting Superintendent Brad Ebanks. He says, "We appreciate the assistance that was rendered to this vessel in distress by a member of the public." And Mr. Brad Ebanks is also the head of the specialist operations. And he's also quoted as saying, "Enlisting the aid of other mariners is a regular practice, as Marine officers are not," and I want you to take note of this, "as Marine officers are not on duty 24 hours a day. We respond to emergency situations, but response at times when Marine vessels are not already underwater will take longer. Therefore, it is appreciated when other mariners respond and assist. Additionally, boaters should always have life jackets, lights, and communications devices, both radio and telephone, and thoroughly check weather reports before heading out to sea." That's the advice given by Mr. Brad. And there are several blogs on there as well. One person writes and says, "Lesson learned, don't untie your boat from the buoy unless your engine is turned on." That is simple. Another writes, "I have been rescued by the Marine Police Unit from South Sound, and I owe them my life. I was trolling in calm waters in an 18-foot boat for Wahoo. It was like oily calm on sunset off the Caribbean paradise. It was calm because there was a cold front coming in later that night. No problem. I will be on the couch by then." Or so the forecast had said. I had a main engine and a spare engine, all the safety gear. Could hear the port authority over the VHF. The main engine stopped without warning. No problem. I had a spare. I could see dark clouds and rain up by 7 Mile Beach, but didn't worry about it and worked to get my main engine going, I am reasonably capable of working on the engine. Before I knew it, the rain hit. Before I knew it, I could not see 30 feet due to the heavy downpour. There wasn't a breath of wind, but I was the hero. Got my main engine running, not well, but going at least. And that's when all hell broke loose. And the story goes on pretty long. I didn't realize it was so long. But obviously this person was very thankful, had been rescued by the Marine unit and felt that they owed their life and their safety to officers of the Marine unit as well. I'm told we have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning. How are you?
Good. You always know
You surprised me the other morning seeing you so early. You probably were surprised to see me too, right?
I wasn't even sure it was you. It's when I got close up on you, I realized it was you. I'm like, oh, did I have the right person? Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And yourself?
Pretty good. Good. I just want to say that the garbage truck hasn't come in the neighborhood as yet. Just wondering what's happening, and you had the panel on there a couple of months stating that once a week is sufficient. But I really don't think so, and I just hope that everything is well. That this garbage will be picked up before the weekend is over, and next week everything will be rolling for the Easter. But anyhow, I just wanted to say, in regards to this 24-hour service that you were talking about there. We are surrounded by water. And it's a shame that we don't have 24-hour Coast Guards and emergency systems in place in case something happens on our waters. Why I say that is because, we're small. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be a problem getting it organized. I mean, we just don't know when a fisherman got to go on the sea. That just hits them as for a moment. I'm going fishing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So why not have something in place so when something do happen that, they are available? I mean, we got people sitting around here in the government, driving government vehicles, mashing up them left, right, and center, driving like a maniac on the road. We buy them new cars every couple of years, and we buy this and we buy that for the government, for them to have, but yet we can't protect our people of these islands. Is it that they're trying to get rid of the Cayman so it'd be more space for more individuals? I'm just stick a pin there.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case, scholar.
Don't say nothing. I just want to say that our roads. We are doing a lot of road work now, OC. Mm-hmm. And when you drive around Cayman and see the road work that's going on, and when it's all finished, you will wonder, where will the next road come from next 5 to 10 years for this island? Because there's not very much space left for roads unless we start taking on people's homes and buying their homes to make roads. And then where will they live? And also, in regards to that, they're not doing no emergency lanes. And don't tell me those roundabouts where those old pegs are, they are emergency lanes. I don't even want to believe that and accept that, because we are building this island up rapidly. We got like 3-4 new hotels coming in here. Where is the structure for these hotels? Where is the entertainment for these people? Where are the roads for these people? Where are the safety is for these people? Or do we have sufficient fire trucks? And do we have the ladders along enough to get to these 8 and 10 floors that we are building here in this Cayman Island? Are we looking further than just our nose tip, because then we can get this free concession? And also, I said yesterday on the radio, if government is making such a great revenue off the permit and making it less for a Cayman to get a job, you know what? I don't care who won't like it. That money should be put to a certain extent to help these guys who are losing their homes. It is our Caymanians who are losing their homes. And where are we going? But I can tell you, it's not looking good. I can let you go. But one more thing.
Very quickly, got to go to the break.
Yeah. Did you hear about this bus being hit by a tree there in the Florida area that's yesterday or so? That school bus is crushed where a tree fell on it.
No.
Or see, we got tons and tons of trees hanging other people's property. We need to get them maintained by the owners or government. Penalize these guys for these trees because they are dangerous.
Okay.
That eucalyptus tree, it needs to go too. That tree been there from I was a kid, and I know that tree is rotten within itself. But anyhow, I'll call you back. I got more to talk about.
Thank you very much, caller, and please feel free to call back as well. Folks, we're going to a commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're operating with an open mic this morning, which means that you, our listening audience, have an opportunity, a better opportunity than usual to talk because there are no guests in the studio with us. We have one caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
It's great, sir. Just great. I want to talk about two things today, both of which your previous caller talked about. One is about planning and the lack of planning, rather. Country policy plans and physical plans, development plans. And, you know, as many Caymanians, including that lady, myself, are alarmed at the fact in the way when in 1975, you had a draft development plan that was tried to be flushed down the toilet and was not considered. And then in 77, they came out with something that's not a development plan. It isn't even a zoning plan, which we still have up to today. And in that plan, it says you're supposed to take a look at it every 5 years, revise it. And it's only been revised once, which was in 1997. And then in 2001, a new development plan was in the works, but after the coup on November the 8th, 2001, then it was thrown in the window again. And since then, you just have piecemeal revisions by the law to pay back and satisfy certain developers from time to time. But the alarm that the lady said about the roads and where we're going to put them, where we're going to put the people, when we know that every government of every color, purple, red, and green, all want to take these islands to a population of 100,000 and build apartments and hotels up to 30 stories tall. That's what our political leaders are saying. And that's where they want to take us. And multi-generational Caymanians would be less than 30,000, and they don't care that we're less than 1/3 the population. And there's no way you're going to be able to maintain any control when you're only 1/3. And so it's very alarming. But what's more alarming is the fact that more Caymanians are not interested in their great-grandchildren and speaking up and taking part to put a stop to this madness of government. On the matter of safety on the water, let's go back in time before government used to have a boat, and then for many years, then government didn't have a boat, and the first government boat was down where Rackham's restaurant is now.
Right.
And then after that, for many years, government did not have a boat. During those years, and we're talking decades, individual people, I can remember Bob Soto, Adrian, Vladimir Watler, and many people, when anybody went missing, before we even had telephones, the word would go out, and you'd have 10, 15 boats out on the water trying to assist in all kinds of weather.
Precisely.
And then when the government got, it was a Robalo that they got, when they got their boat, the government at the highest level told these private people, we don't need your help anymore, we'll take care of everything. And public participation stopped at the behest of government. And we're still at that situation now. On the rare occasion on the rare occasion, the government will ask for assistance from the public. Usually it's too late, the disaster has already occurred. And then in later years, Ladner Watler was with the police, and then he went over to DOE, really as an enforcement officer. But Ladner would go out at all hours of night in the Boston Whaler, launch it all over the place, East End, Bordentown, North Side.
He would be one of the first to respond.
And he'd be the first to respond on a 24/7. One person would handle calls. He kept his radio on 24/7 and was there. Hundreds of people were rescued by that man during probably a period of about 20, 25 years. Because you see, you had commitment, a Caymanian commitment to Cayman, which is what a lot of our Caymanian people in authority now don't have. Sorry, people in government, you don't have a commitment to Cayman. You have a commitment to whoever.
Are you optimistic, caller, about the formation of a Coast Guard for Cayman? Are you optimistic about that? You looking forward to it?
Mr. O.C., I've been hearing about that for 30 years. And what is the purpose of it? What's the function of it?
It would help in a situation like this if we had a vessel on the water at all times.
When they had the Guardian, when they first got the boat, the Guardian, that's what they said that was going to be. The Guardian is out of the water sometimes for years before they get it fixed. They don't have the priority to get it fixed. And you see, if you don't have the priority, it's not going to happen. It's just like when you're speaking. If you don't put the emphasis on the right syllable, then people don't understand you when you're speaking if you don't put the correct emphasis on the right syllable. And that's what happened. If it's a Caymanian interest, most of the time, it goes to the back of the bus. Just look at our immigration law, our planning law. We now have titles for things up in the air, volumetric titles for houses up in the air castles. So that can go through in a matter of days when certain people say we need it, and puts us on the ground in tunnels. Who knows how long the next application for a tunnel is going to be? A mile? Because you buy this piece of land and you get your tunnel extended. You buy the next piece of land, you get your tunnel extended. And most Caymanians seem happy with it because they're not speaking out, that's for sure.
Caller, I have another person queued up. If you could wrap up for me.
Okay, I'm not going to be too much longer. But we're talking about disasters. One, I think, of the most terrible ones was they knew a Cuban boat had 4 people aboard, drifting from Bordentown, east-west area, the eastern side towards the west, was coming down the South Sound Reef. And they knew the engine had broken down and she was drifting. And they allowed that boat, while immigration and police and Port Authority, Customs, and the rest of them was monitoring this boat. And that boat was allowed to run ashore at South Sound Key. And if you remember, one person died. Now, that was wicked. That was wicked. And our people here are allowing these things to go on because they won't unite, they won't become assertive. And we need to, before a Coast Guard, my suggestion is, reestablish the links that were there, community links that were there before. When somebody goes missing, know who has a boat in East End, North Side. Know who has a boat that's equipped and be able to go out with the proper equipment, life jackets, navigation equipment. And if they were to start in the authorities getting that list together and knowing who can help, one, you're going to have safer boating, because if you go on that list, your boat has to be up to a certain standard.
And the community of mariners, it's a close-knit community because they all know what the experiences are like on the water, because they have all experienced it in one way or the other. So you're going to find people out there who will say, it could be me, and people are going to respond, as well. Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there, though. Thanks very much. Please feel free to call back if you so wish. We still have another 45 minutes to go. Next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, O.C. This is Cresswell.
Good morning, Mr. Power. How are you?
I'm good. I would like if you could find out for me if there is a dress code for public transport drivers. I've tried to contact the public transport unit, but I was unsuccessful because I've seen a number of them. I mean, you know, the way they carry themselves is ridiculous, and they're dealing with the public. And I would like for you to check on that, and perhaps you could report it back on the air, please. Thank you.
Yes, caller. I know that at one point in time, uniforms were either issued or they could purchase them for those in the tourism field. I'm not sure about public transport, quite possibly public transport as well. And certainly their dress, the way they dress is important. And we could add to that as well, the way that they drive, even more important. The clothes won't kill the person on the road, but certainly the way that some of those persons who are involved in public transport, the way that they drive, they're putting other people's lives at risk as well. But your point is well taken also. What we're going to do now, we're going to take a commercial break. If there are any callers online, we're going to ask them to hold on. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we return, we will take your call. Please stay tuned. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm in the studio all by myself, along with the camera person. We have an open mic, an opportunity for you, our listening audience, to engage in the conversation because I do not have to accommodate any guests this morning. So this is your opportunity. One of the rare moments in time when you really get to talk as much as almost as much as you want to. I think we have two callers queued up. Let's go to the first caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning again, ma'am.
I just want to...
I welcomed you to call back.
I was on a call about something else, but after Mr. Cresta call, I got a hit on what he was talking about.
Yes.
Public transport, we do have a uniform top, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you choose your bottom.
Okay.
But to his question and his point, I'm going to tell you, we got pretty much the safest taxi driving service in the world by the nastiest and sloppiest taxi drivers going. I have to put it like that. I don't care who like it or who don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't represent me as a taxi driver, and it doesn't represent my island. It doesn't give a good impression to our visitors when they come to our shores. So what I'm trying to say is, you can put on your uniform top. Some of them is presentable and some ain't. They got on jeans with holes in them, all fitted out. Got on slippers. They come to the airport to drop off with a marina on and got visitors in the car. Sometimes they don't even get in the car to deal with their visitors. They take them to the hotels or even get out. We got the public bus transport going up to the hotel, dropping off visitors, picking up visitors. But some taxi drivers cannot walk certain areas on the road or here and there. But the public transport has got the control of the roads right now. They don't have the properly to park. They park anywhere to do door-to-door drop-off, and that needs to be stopped. When you do a bus service, and if you get off at Macross, and you got somebody getting off at the next road down, which is Mahogany.
Mahogany, yeah.
You get off Macross and walk to Mahogany. That is bull crap to be stopping every 5 seconds. I don't call that bus service. That is door-to-door service. And we don't even have nothing in all this road work or proper bus stops for these buses to stop. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say it, and I don't care who like it. We do have the lastest, sloppiest taxi drivers going, majority of them, because some decent ones out there who come and they're looking, crisp and clean and whatever. But it's just a dollar that they're focusing on, the quick dollar. But when you mention anything about the Cayman Islands, how Cayman is going, you can talk to the price come, they're not going to do nothing. I say, well, I tell you what, the little cruise ships stop coming, and this airport closed down.
Yeah.
I wish y'all open your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave you at that.
Before you go, caller, don't go yet. Two questions. Now, number one, if it isn't being done, would you welcome spot checks by the authorities? Now, I know a lot of people say, there's already too much government regulation and whatever, but would you welcome spot checks for someone to come up to the airport, check the drivers who are queued up there waiting for passengers to see whether or not they're properly attired. And the other question is, do we have enough data now, enough information that we can actually have designated bus stops? So you talk about Macruss and someone going to Mahogany Drive. If the area by Macruss was designated as a bus stop, then everyone knows if you're going to Marina Drive, if you're going to Mahogany, wherever, that you're getting off at Macruss. Do we have designated bus stops now?
No, we don't have none.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, what I see them doing, sometimes I ride the bus, they do door to door. They stop at Macruss, and then we get down, they say they want to go Mahogany. And it needs to be stopped. We need to have a proper bus stop. And also about checking our attendance, how we look and present ourselves. Mm-hmm. I agree that 100%.
Do you feel that we have... Sorry, go ahead.
We should have that. We need to be checked out because we're not doing a good representation for the Cayman Islands. We're wearing a logo on our shirt saying we're ambassador for this island. We go and look crap some days. You know what I mean? It is the dollar. They're not even thinking about presenting themselves decently to these visitors. Because let me tell you something. Majority of these visitors are repeat visitors. Yeah. And they can come back and ask to Tom, Dick, and Harry when they come back to this island.
Yeah. Now, you have to take pride in the job that you do. Yes, ultimately, you're doing it for financial gain, but at the same time, you must take pride in the job that you do. Otherwise, you really shouldn't be doing it. Thank you very much, caller. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Oh, see, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Not bad. Maybe you can help me with my question. And it's good you're on this topic because it's, I guess, exactly what I want to discuss.
Okay.
See, I've driven just about pretty much all over the world. I'm an international driver, right? So what I'm going to ask you this morning, or what I'm going to say to you, is a concern that I've seen only in this island, because I see things on the road on this island that I don't see no other part of the world. Because simply people come here with their habits of driving in their country, and they're doing the same thing on our roads. And there's nobody in this country. We have no law enforcement to say or do anything. You could complain till Christ come. And all they're going to do, what's your name, where you're from, where your birthday is, where you live, what kind of car you drive, all of that kind of stupidness you can be asked. My question this morning is you should have a bit of knowledge. I think I know the answer, but I need this address. These school buses, right? Do they have any right to put them kids in danger by turning their bus crossway the road out on the other lane? What I am afraid of is that one of these times when they're by one of these corners with their bus crossway the road over in the other lane, right? Mm-hmm. Is that some idiot is going to be coming around the corner, breaking his neck and can't stop, and it's going to be a serious accident. Can you tell me if there's anything in our laws or anything anywhere in the world that say a bus driver has the right to turn his bus crossway the road, or he's supposed to drive that vehicle like every normal human being that are paying taxes on these roads in the Cayman Islands? Can you help me with that, please? I'll hang up. And
don't hang up. Just stay, because there might be a little bit back and forth afterwards. I've seen the practice that you speak about as well. I'm not aware, and I'll try to find out whether or not there's legislation in place for that. I believe that what the bus drivers feel that they're doing is that they're preventing any cars from crossing and going in either direction, those that are behind the bus or those that are coming from the opposite direction. Because believe me, the majority of drivers on the road still do not have any respect for the school buses. Everyone seems to be in a hurry, going nowhere. And as a result of that, they will, despite the flashing lights, they will still cross. So I believe that those bus drivers are doing it simply in the interest of the safety of the school children on board those buses. We may ask the question, what about the bus wardens? Can't they come out and direct the traffic? Drivers are not going to have any respect for the bus wardens whatsoever. What we probably need to do is to have a little bit more enforcement, and we know the police can't be everywhere. Record the license plate number for those persons who ignore the law and abuse the law as well. But I believe that is why the bus drivers are doing it. Whether or not it is legal or not is another question, and I'll check into that for you.
Well, see, I totally agree with you, and yeah, it's a good point. I see that, and that makes sense, and I couldn't agree with you more. But that is what the lights are for on the bus, and that is what those signs that the little signs that flicks out on the side of them that say stop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tell me which one is more dangerous. Having them lights on, getting one of the bus wardens out there with a stop sign and stop until the children crosses or go where they have to go, or taking the bus and putting it across the road. Because the first thing that happens, if something happens, if there's nothing in the law that permits that bus to turn across the road out on my lane that I'm driving on,
Mm-hmm.
and an accident may happen, what is going to happen in court? Why was this bus, if it's not in the law, why is this bus over in the other lane? Once you are in somebody else's lane, automatically you are wrong. You run into the back of someone, how bad that person drives in the front of you, you are wrong. Okay? So I understand where you're coming from, but that, I don't think that is a good enough excuse. Not an excuse, but I don't think that's good enough, and I can't accept that,
Mm-hmm.
for these buses to be turning across the road, because if my kids were on them buses traveling, I would not want that bus driver to turn across the road
Mm-hmm.
and put my children in trouble, because I totally agree with you. You're right about the crazy drivers. I'm on the road every day, and I know exactly what you're saying. But I need to know if they have the right to put them buses across the road and put other people in danger and everything else.
That's a good point, caller.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, caller, as well. Thank you. And we will inquire about that and hopefully get back to you at some point in time with an answer. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Oh, see?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you're going to be tired of me this morning.
No. Believe you me, this is the morning when I need you.
I just want to tell my brother, my beloved brother, that his sister been there for 11 years now and came close to death's door many, many days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have the right to park crossway. Police have seen us cross. They have never said anything to us. We park crossway because when we park lane-way, they are still overtaking us.
Mm-hmm.
So we go crossway and they're still overtaking us. 2 weeks ago on Walker's Road, one of my students almost got killed. And another couple of days later, another student almost got killed. And when I say almost got killed, it was a close call. And speaking about the bus wardens coming off, my company has bus signs that the bus warden comes off and stand in the road and hold up to the traffic to stop to let the kids come across. I can vouch for that when I see it when I'm on the road with my bus company that I work for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have came so close to death, stepping off the bus, trying to get the kids across the street safely, with me or without me. So, like I said, I don't know if it's any law that the buses is against the bus to park crossway. So we have done it straight. It didn't work. We go cross. It don't work. That job is a dangerous job, and these cars on the road and trucks and whatever does not respect the school bus for a short period of time that we are on the road. It is a death calling for those school buses every day. And who's going to look into it, I don't know. I just want to tell my brother, we're trying our best, but it's not all our fault. And there are signs being held by bus fast forwarding when our buses are on the road.
But as we know, the signs, just like the street lights, won't necessarily stop anyone. It's like people, someone may be driving erratically or maybe in the wrong, and the person leans on their car horn. The car horn doesn't stop the other car at all, or it won't stop your car either. You have to ensure that you take evasive or direct action, not just honking your horn to try to prevent something from happening.
I'm going to let you go down there by Smith Road over that red light. Let me tell you something. I don't know how there's not an accident there every 5 seconds of the day for the driver that goes on right there, the overtaking. They're running the red light, got the road all lined up when it's your time to go straight forward. It's crazy out here. If the police department and whoever's in charge of it can't get these roads together, no one else will, because we can't do it by ourselves.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. We're going to our 9 o'clock headline news. When we return, the phone lines will continue to be open. Lots to talk about. And you get the opportunity to choose the topic that you want to talk about as well. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I'm in the studio all by myself, not complaining. Good opportunity for you or listening audience to get more involved in the conversation this morning. I have one WhatsApp message from one of our listeners says, the public at large need to appreciate what the police are doing, considering the crimes in places around us. I support the government putting money into the Marine unit. They cannot expect the Marine unit to work out of a patch up dory. Give them the finance and equipment to carry out their duties. And the public need to stop blaming or being the police as well. So this person supports the government in its efforts. They advocate putting more money into the Marine unit. And like I said before, we heard the Premier talk about a proper Coast Guard for the Cayman Islands. The one thing that I have said before, and I will continue to say, is that it seems as if we get fairly good results from the use of the police helicopter as well. And I believe that we should invest in another helicopter. Yes, we had challenges with this first one because I believe that in the procuring of that particular helicopter, there may have been conflicts of interest in terms of how it was procured, where it was procured from, because it was quite a while before we actually got it to the Cayman Islands, had to disassemble it. It was taken to the U.S. Over a year, maybe 2 years before we actually got the helicopter here. But a second helicopter would be good. What better time to do it when the government is operating at a surplus? We can take some of those surpluses and put them into areas where the people will shake their head and say, yes, we need it there. That is exactly where we need it as well. One caller, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Jose.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm calling in concern the issue where you're talking about the Marine unit.
Yes.
The Marine unit, over the years, when it comes to anything pertaining to police in this country, they've always poured money into police department, Marine section, and the police. Every annually, I mean, countless of cars, countless of engines, or any equipment that gets damaged, they always, it's never a run around or a headache for them to get in a replacement when all the government department got to go through all kind of loopholes to get in the job done. What happened the other night, on numerous occasions, every time that anything happens, it's always somebody to jump up and say, well, we never had the boat in the water, or we were responding, or it's just a pile of hypocriticalness and excuses. And I notice anytime that it's mostly pertaining to our own people, it's a headache or some excuse come up. And in full time now, OC, that foolishness need to stop in Cayman. Because I have this mentality. One life lost is a little bit too much in today's time. With all of the technology and all of the access and Cayman of all the countries in the world, we're surrounded by water. You understand? And it's not a hard. For years I sit down and I ask people, why is it that we don't have that radar station that the U.S. government left up there by the airport? Why isn't it that our government never utilize that? You're going to turn around now and go spend countless amount of money, taxpayers' dollars, to talk about you're going to try to get a radar. What is the radar for that they're trying to implement now? This one that they're planning or trying to do feasibility study and doing in all kind of research on it, costing this country money again. Listen to me, man. We got to accept the fact we got a drug problem when it comes to our borders. Yeah, we go fix it, but it takes forever. Something today would cost you $5, and the next 10 years from now, it's going to cost you $6. And full time now for the leaders of this country, they're ambassadors to our people. Full time now for them to stop bullshitting when they go in. Excuse me for my language. I'm
not sure if the 30-second delay caught you there, but
yeah. And stop bullying this country and just get down and get work done in this country, because far too often we sit down and hound each other up. And whenever anything like this come up, we jumping on the airwaves and we coming up with solutions, but nothing happening. And they're passing laws and never no enforcement. This don't make no sense. All you wasting the country money, and constantly every year it happens. You understand? Things like this not supposed to happen in Cayman. Sorry to say, it's supposed to happen.
I agree with you, caller. I agree with you that it seems as if on some occasions the responses that we had 20, 30 years ago were sometimes much more rapid than in this day and age of technology and everything else. But again, what we want people to do is not to necessarily always rely on the authorities. Be your brothers and your sisters' keepers. And we saw that again demonstrated where a member of the public was able to respond and assist before the authorities. And sometimes members of the public are in a better position to respond before the authorities, depending on what the situation is as well. We have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning. Again, Cresswell here.
Yes, sir.
I would like to hit about the bus, drivers turning across the road, or partially turning across the road. I don't know whether the law permits that, but I know the law. It's an offense for any vehicle traveling from any direction across the bus, while the school bus, while they are just, letting off the children. And I support the way the bus drivers turn their buses across, because that is the only how that a lot of these, I would like to say, stupid drivers crossing these buses. I mean, I watched many bus drivers. They put on their flashing lights quite a distance away from where they would stop to let off the children. So the drivers have advance notice that the bus is coming to a stop.
Precisely.
And they must obey the laws. And that's not the only law that a lot of these drivers disregard. And in regards to the public transport, what I was really talking about was those bus drivers that travel through the districts to pick up passengers.
Yeah, I think she included those. She meant those as well. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't referring too much about the taxi drivers with their uniforms, because I think most of them dress properly.
Mm-hmm.
But these drivers that operate in the district, I've seen some of them right on my road and crossing my home, and some of them live nearby. They basically go out there on the road with just a marina on,
and a towel draped around their neck.
Right. I mean, it's ridiculous that you don't even go to. It's not even proper to go to the beach with, and these people should be held accountable. I mean, you're dealing with the public, and you don't need to put on full suits or neckties, but they should be dressed properly. If they're not, if there's not a uniform code, but they should be dressed properly, and the authorities need to check on these vehicles, because it affects our industry, because a lot of tourists use the public transport, and I urge those who are in authority to do something about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. For that. There's a glaring need for public transport. We keep hearing for proper public transport system. We keep hearing the call for it, and we don't want to wait too far down the line before we start to develop it. We cannot continue to build roads as an answer to the increase in the number of vehicles being imported into the country. At some point in time, someone is going to have to make the hard decision in terms of controlling the number of vehicles in this country. We're going to have to make hard decisions in terms of those persons who come to work here on a periodic basis, whether or not they will be allowed to own vehicles in this country. For those of you who believe that the government is dependent on the revenues from importation as well as the licensing of these vehicles, I don't necessarily believe that the government has to be dependent on those revenues. But somewhere down the line, we're going to have to make that hard decision. And hopefully it won't be at a time when making that hard decision is harder to make than it is now as well. A couple of callers. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I didn't know it was on at that point because I didn't hear no click.
Oh, okay. You are on.
Good morning, OC. I would have to agree with Cresswell there. I agree with the bus drivers. While it may not be law or legal for them to do in a sense, I have seen an incident where a young man actually got hit by a vehicle because the bus did not turn sideways. Had the bus turned sideways or across the other lane, that wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it affected that young man. He's a young man now. It affected him to where he actually killed his own child.
Wow.
Yes. Because of the hit in the head. The mirror of the vehicle hit the child in the head. He spinned around in the road like a gig. I witnessed it. And unfortunately, like I said, that happened, and he's now incarcerated for life. Now, I know from I was a child growing up, I seen, and I'll call his name because he's a very good gentleman and he's passed on right now. But he used to be a bus driver from East End, Mr. Luggy.
Mm-hmm.
He was first person that I know that used to turn their bus crossway the road. And then the second one was, and I call him Uncle Ornan from Borden Town.
Starting on
He
Whitaker.
used to do it as well. But they were the only two individuals. All the other bus drivers, I've never seen them do it until recently, that they started doing it again. But had that one turned sideways, that young man would not have been hit.
Mm-hmm.
So while it may not be legal, I support it 150%.
Okay. Thank you very much, caller, for that. We're going to a commercial break now. When we return, we have 2 more callers as well, and we're going to have about 12 minutes after we return from this commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. 11 minutes more to go before the show is over. How time flies. It seems as if this open mic seems to be working pretty good. Getting lots of calls and talking to our cameraman here. We may have to look towards starting having an open mic day again, maybe every other Wednesday or something like that, having an open mic day, because it seems as if people do take advantage of that opportunity. We know that when we have guests on that you do listen, but there is also limited opportunity for you to participate as well. So something that we need to consider or reconsider again, having an open mic day. So let's go to the 2 callers that we have on hold. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, it should continue until 10 o'clock. Very important. Sure. Yeah, you're right. Much too many cars. There comes a time when we'll have to restrict importation on cars. People will have to learn to obey rules, and that's one of the major problems here. There must be serious penalties for it. We have to curb the importation of cars. Much too many cars. That's why we have to build so many roads, on vehicles on our road.
Yeah.
And we are dependent on it because of our system of taxation. Enough is never good enough. Consumption-based only. And we must realize that and implement what we should do, which we have insisted for so many years. We must implement some form of direct income tax. But that's for another time. With the bus problem, we can solve that with the school buses. In the United States, I know, especially in Florida, it's a very serious thing to overtake a bus, go around it from either direction, coming from opposite, or if you're going in the same direction as the bus, the school bus. You must stop. It's a very serious thing. The $500 fine, that's 30 years ago. And also, you have to have your license endorsed, 3 points taken off of your license. Here we can do the same thing, $1,000 fine, and you will have your license endorsed, say for a period that if anything else like that happens, or you're speeding over a certain amount, you lose your license for like 6 months or 3 months or whatever. But it's a serious thing. I mean, you have designated areas where these buses stop. It's marked with white lines. There's no need for school buses to drive down 200 feet down some little road. I know we like to be very kind and Cayman kind and all that, and to drop off some children. Children should be able to walk 200 feet. And if they need accompanied by an adult, you have a child. Take responsibility. Walk them out to the designated area. And those areas are marked like with a white line across the road, a little sign. We can do it. There's money here to do it. And also, at all those stuff with the neighborhood policing coming back into place, put more men on it. There should be a policeman out. I noticed it in Savannah where the flashing lights are. There are 2 police, 1 on either side, cars, and it worked. They were slowing down the traffic immediately as they see it. Those flashing lights, again, that's another very serious thing. You must slow down to 15 miles an hour. I have vehicles overtaking me there in the Savannah ones. I know what I'm talking about. When those lights are flashing and the school children are coming out of school.
Speed should be reduced to 15 miles an hour at that point, yes, when they're flashing.
15, and you must do it. You must obey it. Neighborhood policing would help a lot. Walking along, a policeman we're going to check your license plate. You can do it, and then you're sent a ticket. And we have to get serious about these things, obeying the law and doing what must be done. It's a very serious thing. I agree with them putting the bus across the road. I remember Mr. Logie doing that and all that. We did go all to the store and it's the only way they see, because if the law is not being obeyed and not being enforced properly, we can't have a police there. Back to a good traffic department at every one of these weird areas where the school children are coming out school, and you stop and you obey. It's very, very simple. We can solve things, but people have to learn, curb themselves.
Yes,
and we do need a good public transport system. Whether we subsidize the present ones instead of the government buying buses and insurances and all that, we can subsidize it and regulate it, and people, there's an inspector going around and checking on them every now and then. We can do that. We can do it.
Okay. Thank you very much, caller, for that. I think we may have two callers left and about 5 minutes to share between those two callers. So we're going to, I think we're down to one caller now. We're going to ask, okay. So we will end with this caller. So caller, you're going to have about 3 minutes to talk if you so want to. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you for taking the call.
How are you? Haven't spoken to you in quite a while.
Yes, it has been. There are many things to touch on, but let me just touch briefly on the situation with the helicopter in the middle of town. Not only, my son Keith Orred and I were speaking on the subject, and one of the things he said in studying about helicopters, that most of the accidents with helicopters happen either on takeoff or landing.
Mm-hmm.
So in the area where this particular helicopter is taking off and landing in Georgetown, not only are we talking about it's right in the center of town, but there are people who do snorkeling just outside that area. And Mr. Connor, quite frankly, I don't think it's a Caymanian who's operating that helicopter. I'm not even sure if it's a Caymanian who owns the company.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that's the case, what I would like to emphasize is that I understand that if the company is more interested in garnering as many passengers as possible, say from the cruise ships, I can understand why that would be much more convenient for them to take on passengers in that particular location.
Uh-huh.
However, when one considers the tragedy that could take place right there, and if that happens, then the operation would shut down immediately. Prevention is better than cure. The airport is there to accommodate planes and helicopters. There may have to be a shuttle to the airport and back, whatever the arrangement might be. But I believe that those who have the ability to approve or disapprove or suspend those services should do so now.
Mm-hmm.
It poses a hazard for those on the ground as well as those who are snorkeling just out in the area.
Yeah. Caller, I believe that whole situation has already been adjudicated and has been through the courts and everything. I'm not sure how much farther it will go. I think at some point in time it just simply takes common sense, a reassessment of the whole situation, and I'm not sure whether or not they end up losing any customer numbers as a result of being elsewhere on the island, but I believe that it has been adjudicated already. It was quite prominent in the news a few years ago as well, but I want to thank you for voicing your concerns about it as well, because again, safety is the most important thing, and we do not want to be reactive. We need to be proactive as well. Folks, I want to thank you, our listening and our viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who is less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or those who crave. One of those worthy charities would be Meals on Wheels, which I believe today and tomorrow will be at specific locations on the island collecting donations for the organization. I know some of my cycling friends, including Miss Wenda Clark, who has volunteered some of her time. She's going to be at Kirk's between, I believe it's 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock this morning. So that's one of the worthy charities that you can assist with this morning. I also want to say to you, have a great weekend. Those of you who are going to the BRAC for their agriculture show, enjoy yourselves, be safe, and as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record.